Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Kia ora, brothers. It's the director. Oh my God. The internet, the NFL world, fandoms, especially in the AFC West, has officially exploded. Today is one of the biggest football days I can remember in a very long time, and it comes with so much news, highlighted, of course, by Russell Wilson being added to the Denver Broncos. Oh my God, man. Chargers fans, I'll be honest, an hour ago, I was sitting there looking at my phone like, oh my God. I was getting heart palpitations. I was freaking out pretty hardcore. Then we got some really good news in Mike Williams returning to the team, which is great. Some Chargers fans maybe a little bit worried in his cap hit. We're going to go over that here in just a second, too. But my, oh my, Chargers fans, the 2022 season has officially been turned on its head. And I honestly, we're going to be here reacting. We have some things to do. I think, if anything, this is going to push the Chargers to do some crazy things this offseason. We have to. To make it into the postseason this year, we are going to have one heck of the defense and add some important pieces to that offense and try and run as efficiently as possible. The AFC West just became the most dangerous division in the league, the most difficult to make it into the postseason. So we got some work to do. So, guys, we're going to react together. Please, if you need to vent or ask questions or talk amongst yourselves in the comment section, please do. I'm going to add to it a question like we do at the beginning of every video. With such a loaded division now here in the AFC West, what must the Chargers do to secure a spot next postseason? Let me know. Any big moves, trades, signings, some sort of ritual to whoever, just let me know. With that, guys, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub. If you do enjoy this Chargers content, the small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, Bull fam. Lights, camera, action. Russell Wilson is now the new quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Oh, Mike Williams getting paid a fat stack. We're going to go over that one first, okay? Let's start with the good news. Some people don't like this, okay? First off, let's go over, for any of you that haven't heard, Mike Williams is back with the Chargers. Ultimately, guys, I promise you, this is great news for the Chargers, for Chargers fans, and for this team to remain competitive in such a difficult division. Okay? Mike Williams signed a 3-year, $60 million contract, $40 million in guarantees, and $28 million in year one. Okay, everybody, take a breath with me. It's going to be okay. I know that number scared a lot of people. $28 million in year one, where the Chargers boast $56 million in cap space. That would put us at what? $28 million, something like that. That does scare some people a little bit, right? To me, though, again, and by the time you guys, some of you watch this, there may have been updated numbers on how Mike Williams' contract is being structured. But as of right now, recording the video, I think $28 million in year one isn't what it looks like on the surface, okay? I do fully expect there's going to be some massaging in terms of signing bonuses here, and I'll explain that in just a second, okay? Mike Williams being back with the team is a massive, massive win for this team, okay? The man I call Crypto, okay? I play a lot of Apex Legends, sue me. I call him Crypto, short for Kryptonite, because this man has shown that he can slay giants like Patrick Mahomes. He's been Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite. His big playability is something that I think the Chargers desperately needed, especially right now with Russell Wilson coming into the fold. This is perhaps the most important move for the Chargers to make this year, and it's done. Mike Williams is back. We can all celebrate that fact. Okay? Secondly is the contract. Okay, you guys will see this. This was my initial reaction to Mike Williams coming back. We'll take a closer look at this one actually here from Adam Schefter. $28 million in year one. Okay? Now, this has some Chargers fans in an uproar on Twitter. Okay? And I understand it. That is scary. The Chargers have a lot of moves that they need to make this season in order to remain competitive. And $28 million lowers our chance of bringing in some big names by a lot. Okay, but it's not that bad, I promise. Firstly, let's take a look at that big number that scares us. $28 million in year one. Yes, it could be something close to that. Who knows? But I don't think this means he's going to hit for $28 million against the cap this year. Okay, I fully expect a huge portion of that to be paid out as a signing bonus, prorated over 3 years. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let's take a look at Joey Bosa's contract as an example. Okay, Joey Bosa. Let's make it bigger for the boys in the back here. Now, Joey Bosa signed a massive 5-year, $135 million contract, right? And this is likely, and they structured it in a way where it wouldn't hinder the Chargers immediately, right? It's a very smart structure. Okay? This is likely what we're going to see with Mike Williams. He will not cost $28 million year one. At least I really, really hope so. You guys will notice here, $1 million in his base salary for his first season, with a signing bonus of $7 million, a roster bonus of $7 million, with only a cap hit of $15 million in his first year. This is Joey Bosa. Okay, this is Joey Bosa. Now, he's averaging $27 million a season, but his first year cap hit was only $15. I would expect Mike Williams' contract to reflect something similar to this. And that number, $28 million, you know, again, I don't think that's going to be his first year cap hit, but I do think that $28 million is going to be spread out via signing bonuses throughout the course of his contract. Of course, his contract is much smaller in length, you know, versus a Joey Bosa. But I do think that money is going to be spread out. Yes, it's paid up front, but when it comes to what affects the cap this season and seasons going forward, you can spread out that money over the course of 3 years. Maybe they can add some void years. We don't know. We don't know what the contract looks like yet. Okay? So just spitballing here. Again, just a wild guess on my part. Mike Williams' cap hit should look something like $15 million this season in 2022, which was fully expected, $20 million next season, and $25 million the season after that over his contract, okay? And as well, guys, keep in mind down here on Joey Bosa's contract even, where it says potential out in 2024, there will be an out, in my opinion, in 2023 for Mike Williams, just in case. I don't think we're going to have to exercise that, honestly, but if something were to happen to Mike Williams, injury, doesn't live up to the contract, the Chargers would be able to get out of the contract in 2023 while taking a minimum loss in dead cap, okay? These contracts, the NFL doesn't throw money around willy-nilly, okay? They're going to be structured intelligently to make sure that the team is protected and that it makes sense for this season. All right? The Chargers, we must remain competitive in free agency this year, okay? So even at the worst-case scenario, let's say $28 million is Mike Williams' cap hit this season. Yikes, that's a huge hit. Probably too much for this year. That's so important to go out there and grab some key pieces. But we will make money, right? We will find money in restructurings. We'll find money. The NFL cap is a myth. And a lot of people will say that it's not. It will bite you eventually like it is the Atlanta Falcons with Matt Ryan. But it's a lot more malleable than people think. If the Chargers want somebody this season via free agency, trade, whatever, they can get him. Even if our cap is $2 million, we'd be able to make something happen and get them on this team. The Chargers are not characteristically that aggressive, but in a situation like this where Russell Wilson's entering the fold, you already have a good large amount of cap to work with to start off the offseason. It's kind of the time where you see moves like this develop, okay? Secondly, another big reason why this contract does kind of make sense to me, let's take a look at Spot Rack here for a second. The Chargers are unique in the sense that they have a rookie quarterback, okay? And this rookie quarterback allows us to have a large amount of cap, not just for this season, last season, but for a couple more seasons to come. Okay, so in 2022, cap space, have they updated it yet? $56 million. They haven't updated it yet. But next season, the Chargers also do boast $103 million. I think the only big contract we have to worry about is Derwin James in that time. That's a lot of money to work with. And then finally 2024, when I expect to see the most money paid out to Mike Williams in his contract, the Chargers have $170 million. Now, of course, there's going to be players signed to drop that number down. But the fact of the matter is, teams wish they had this much money to work with going forward. This is why Mike Williams and structuring his contract in such a way where it's backloaded would make more sense for the Chargers going forward. Okay? Mike Williams coming back. This is more important than ever, as the AFC West just got a lot thicker at the position of quarterback, right? We are a much better team with Mike Williams than without him. And honestly, I believe Mike Williams is on the cusp of taking over as wide receiver 1 this season. Keenan Allen, I love the guy. He's still an elite wide receiver. I think he took a little bit of a step back last year. I think the torch may begin to be passed to Mike Williams this year. He's going to play a huge role for the Chargers in some of the biggest games of 2022. And honestly, I'm super happy to have him back. Yes, the contract worries me a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But at the same time, I don't think it's as bad as it looks on the surface. And I do fully expect the Chargers to remain very competitive and aggressive in free agency this year. Now to the second bit of news. I'll be honest, dudes. I stopped what I was doing. I dropped everything. I went and grabbed my wife, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, read this. Russell Wilson, the new king of Mile High. Oh, dude. I freaked out hardcore. I'm not going to lie. I had heart palpitations. I was shaking. I was like, this just absolutely turned the AFC West on its head. Oh, my God. Just when we thought we were in the clear with Rodgers getting extended, with the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, he's not coming to Denver anymore. This news dropped. Honestly, I want to say, hey, man, we got this. Let's go rustle up some Denver smackdowns, right? But, man, dude, I'm getting flashbacks from 2012. Chargers fans know what I'm talking about. When the Broncos signed Peyton Manning. Not everybody was sure about it, but, dude, it caused some headaches for the Chargers for the following couple of seasons. Now, this isn't to say that Denver has become invincible in any way, shape, or form, okay? Russell Wilson has taken a step back. I think last season we may have seen some regression. I don't think so. I think it was more circumstantial. But the fact of the matter is this division just got a whole lot more interesting. I was so worried about Rodgers coming to Denver for a good reason, okay? This was a great football team to start with, outside of quarterback. And now, I don't like saying this, but I think with Russell Wilson, you have to talk about the Denver Broncos as a Super Bowl contender. That's the kind of opponent that was just introduced to the Chargers in the AFC West. Okay? With a loaded defense and a solid roster of young playmakers on offense, including the Javonte Williams and Jerry Jeudy, Russell Wilson is adopting one of the most Super Bowl-ready rosters in the league. And that is why I was kind of freaking out this morning a little bit. And yes, I'm worried. But you know what? I think it's our turn to instill fear into the other teams of the AFC West. It's our turn to make some big moves and try and counter this big move of Russell Wilson. Because this news, I promise you guys, this news has shifted the mindset of Tom Telesco in at least some shape or form. Tom saw his phone this morning, noticed that Russell Wilson was entering the fold of his schedule twice next season, and he had some changes of heart. The quarterback contract window still exists, right? The Chargers still have a lot of money to work with because of Justin Herbert. But Russ entering the fold, I think, will force the Chargers to go nuclear in free agency this year. There are things that I didn't realistically think that the Bolts would do this season that I feel just became a real possibility because of Russell Wilson coming into the fold. Restructurings, big free agent signings, and maybe even trades. Run defense, yes, is going to remain a huge priority for this team. We need to fix that. But truthfully, it wouldn't be that expensive. Those positions aren't the $15, $20 million positions in the league. We're going to fix it. It should get done. And it's not going to break the bank. Right? Even if we have to do it with a guy in the draft like Jordan Davis, we are going to fix this run defense. But no. Instead, my eyes are starting to heavily shift towards the edge and defensive back positions this offseason because of Russ. Because if there's one thing we know, As great of a quarterback as Patrick Mahomes has been, an elite pass rush can bring him to his knees. And like we're seeing here with Russell Wilson, I fully expect the same thing of him. So, it's time for the Chargers counterattack. Who's in my crosshairs for this 2022 free agency? Who's in my crosshairs for this offseason, I should say? And let's start with who's on the market, right? There are guys I feel that were good, but not a solid chance to come to the Chargers. This has changed. If I'm Tom, I'm not hanging up the phone until we have another elite edge opposite Bosa. Starting with Von Miller here. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk, speculation, that Von Miller is still going, or is going back to the Denver Broncos. Okay? I think it's still a big possibility. But the news of Russell Wilson joining the team carries some heavy financial consequence for Denver as well. It's worth it. They're getting themselves an elite quarterback, but this makes Von's return to Denver a little bit more complicated. Again, it could still happen. Maybe Von takes a deal or something, but I think it's less likely now. The Chargers have already been linked to Von Miller as a potential big signing. I think his stock is way up as far as the potential for him to come to the Chargers. Brandon Staley knows Von very well, and he fits exactly what this team needs. Solid against the run, lethal against, rushing the quarterback. Bosa and Von Miller would form the best pass rushing duo in the NFL, bar none. And this would bring immediate relief to the news of Russell Wilson entering the fold. As good as Mahomes and Russ are, Von and Bosa would have a field day against them. Big moves like this will be forced on the Chargers to counterattack what the Denver Broncos have just done. Other edge defenders to keep in mind that are in my crosshairs. Haason Reddick, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite free agent targets this offseason. DeMarcus Lawrence, who's expected to be cut, I think, after June 1st, but we'll keep an eye on that. Chandler Jones, Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, Uchenna Nwosu, Harold Landry, and Emmanuel Ogbah. We have a lot of options. In that order, by the way. We have a lot of options to upgrade that opposite edge of Joey Bosa. We have to add somebody over there to get to these quarterbacks. This just became the toughest division in football. We need some of these big names and high production from these big names. Who else? J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson. I'll be honest, as much as I wanted J.C. Jackson, I've talked about him in previous videos, I didn't think he was very likely because of how much he would cost. Right? He still might cost a lot. Now, my mind has changed a little bit. I think there's a good chance the Chargers go after him. And it also includes a few days ago, the Chargers were linked to J.C. Jackson and or Stephon Gilmore. And or. The Chargers may be in play for both. It's very evident that Brandon Staley wants more defensive backs on this team. Again, I think there's going to be some shifts. There is shifts and there is change in your defensive scheme every single year. But as far as habits and as far as, tendencies that you see in a defense, I think we're going to introduce a little bit more of a man coverage this year. We'll talk about that more in just a second. I truly believe that we will make one big signing at cornerback this year. And could it be J.C. Jackson? Absolutely, it could. JC carries with him an immediate upgrade over our turnover game with 25 interceptions over the last 4 years. I'd expect him to add a big threat to our secondary. I think with Brandon Staley, he could definitely keep pace. 25 interceptions in 4 years is absolutely nuts. We need that. You're going up against Russ and Mahomes, you're going to need a guy out there that can generate turnovers, especially when you pair him with a guy like Derwin James. This would make Russell Wilson sweat. This also carries more evidence, like we said before. We could introduce more man coverage. J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, Javarius Ward, the guys that have been linked to the Chargers, are pretty much utilizing a man-heavy scheme in their previous teams. And this does beg the question, do the Chargers want to introduce more man this season? In our victory over Kansas City, we did see a lot of cover one man. And we came away with the dub right there. I think it was very difficult for Patrick Mahomes to adjust in that scheme. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that this year. Other corners in my crosshairs. We've got Carlton Davis, young stud. I think he's going to enter the free agent market because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just tagged Chris Godwin. Stephon Gilmore, DJ Reed, who's a huge my guy this offseason if he's available. I think it's less likely now that Russell Wilson is gone, but if he's available, I'm definitely looking at him. Javarius Ward, who's been linked to us, Rasul Douglas, and Steven Nelson. There's some good options there at corner. But we're not done there yet. I think the Chargers, again, I think there's a good chance that the Chargers do restructure Keenan Allen and or Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa being the more likely of the two. But I also think that the chance of the Chargers pursuing a trade this offseason just went up a little bit, okay? I think the Chargers are definitely reviewing their notes on trade partners. And I think we've got a good shot at using some of our 11 draft picks to move up, let's say even in the draft, but also in this offseason to add additional help and reinforcements because we're going to need it. So let's talk about trades for just a second here. Who do I have in my radar? Well, let's start off with Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. Two older guys. I think Mack at 31, Quinn at 32. These guys become immediately names of interest for me because of Brandon Staley. You guys see there, Brandon Staley in the Bears, gear. I think he played a major part in getting Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears in that big trade. And I think, honestly, he could do it again, but here with the Los Angeles Chargers. And not only that, there's legitimate chatter in the Bears community about moving Khalil Mack. Some would heavily disagree. I absolutely understand that. If there was another guy on YouTube saying, hey, the Chargers are talking about moving Joey Bosa, I'd be upset. There's no chatter about that, but I would heavily disagree even if there was. Per sites like Sportsnot, I've been looking around, since the news of Russell Wilson of what the Chargers can do via trade. This one definitely stuck out in terms of recent rumors and recent chatter in the NFL. I'm hearing Mack could be moved. And honestly, the biggest, most shocking part of it is what he could be moved for. I'm seeing trade scenarios, a couple of second-round picks, a second-round pick, maybe a third and fourth the next season, and a player, maybe like Kenneth Murray, a young first-rounder who might fit their scheme a little bit better. I don't know. Could it be that cheap? Maybe. Maybe it could. His age plays a big factor into, a trade this late into his career. But would it make sense for the Bolts? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, there's going to be a risk because Mack suffered a foot injury mid-season. I think he missed the rest of the year. If he comes back, though, my God, if there's a duo that would strike fear into our division rivals, it would be Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. And honestly, at least a little bit, Brandon Staley's got to be thinking in the back of his mind, I think we need Khalil Mack in this division. Things just got hot and heavy. Okay? Other trade candidates in my crosshairs. Right here too. I forgot to put this picture up right here. Khalil Mack loves sacking a Russell Wilson. This is definitely a preview of the kind of reinforcements the Chargers could get if they were to pursue a Khalil Mack. Other trade candidates in my crosshairs. Xavier Howard. Okay. We've talked a lot about this. Xavier Howard, we're not sure about his status with the Miami Dolphins. He would immediately introduce the Chargers, or he would immediately come into this roster as the cornerback one of this group. He would be huge. I've got Brandon Cooks, a nice speed option at wide receiver. Frees up maybe what we can do in the first round a little bit. Marcus Peters, who I think would be an underrated trade for the Chargers. James Bradbury. We'll hear more news as things develop in the NFL in terms of extensions and trades and such. Okay? Some huge developments in the league dropped today. Some huge changes to the AFC West in particular. Ultimately, we got Mike Williams back. That is great news. Russell Wilson is now a member of our most hated rival. That's bad news. It's bittersweet a little bit. However, this is going to push Tom Telesco and the Chargers to make some big moves this offseason, okay? Don't think for one second that our GM and our head coach saw these teams make these moves and said, okay, we're going to sit back and see what we got and run to the season with what we had last year. No, it's not going to happen. They're thinking big moves. They've got money. They've got prestige with Justin Herbert. They got competitiveness, and they've got a window. And honestly, I think this may have just pushed up their timetable a little bit. Not just because we have the money. We still do. Even if Mike Williams does see like a $25 million cap hit this year, I think it's still possible outside of that because the players available in free agency this season carry traits that help us where we need it the most. In getting to the quarterback and also stopping the run. That's very underrated. I think that's something that we haven't talked enough about. Some of these big name free agents that we're talking about also have heavy contributions versus the run. And that if the Chargers were to add anybody in any season, some of the guys on this list are it. When it comes to lining up your free agency with good players that have, traits in both things that you need, it's rare to find yourself in a situation like this. The Broncos pushed hard. it's time for us to push even harder back. It's time for that counter. So let me know what you guys think. I'm honestly still in shock. I'm honestly just like, is this really happening? But at the same time, I'm thinking that those guys out there in Los Angeles for the Chargers are thinking the same thing, and they're also thinking it's time to come up with a plan. It's time to maybe execute a plan that we've had in our back pocket. Maybe it's time to make some of those big moves that we were saving for a couple years down the road. It's time to be competitive now. So Chargers, ball's in your court. Good on you for bringing back Mike Williams. I'm very interested to see what that contract looks like, but it's time to make some big moves. Tom, you got your work cut out for you. Well, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If the Chargers, to answer my own question at the top of this video, if the Chargers have to make one move to make the postseason this year, I think it's honestly at this point, as much as Brandon Staley wants, corners and defensive backs, I think it's edge. I think the Chargers need a big upgrade at edge. Unfortunately for Uchenna Nwosu, I think that means letting him go and getting an upgrade at that position, but I think it's necessary. I think the Chargers need to bring in a big upgrade opposite Joey Bosa to get to guys like Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and even Derek Carr. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Well, guys, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out if you did enjoy this content. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll get through this together, Chargers fans. We'll get more updates as we come along through this week. But, man, the madness isn't over yet. Free agency is just around the corner, a few days away before tampering, and things are about to get messy. It's going to get exciting, too, man. Well, again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time. And, as always, bolt up and stay frosty. We got this. Russ is going down.